The pipe pistol, used by many raiders across the Commonwealth as the go-to gun. Why? Honestly, I've got no clue. It's awful. But what if we used a weapon so bad the only time it's used is because you left the vault and somehow managed to run out of 10mm ammo for an entire run? Yeah, it can be upgraded to make it somewhat a viable option. You know, you can swap out the receiver to make it take better bullets and deal a lot more damage, or increase the mag size. You can do a lot of this weapon to make it better. But no, I'm just talking about the base version. No attachments, no legendary modifiers, just your bog standard pipe pistol. I know for a fact, using this pistol, that some enemies won't even feel the bullet. So how many times will I struggle in this challenge? Well, let's find out and see if you can beat Fallout 4 with the pipe pistol. We start in front of the mirror like we do at the beginning of every great and not painful run, by creating an abomination. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give a warm welcome to the stage, I Fell. Appropriately named this because at the bold age of 1, she catapulted herself down 9 flights of stairs, after drinking a crate of Red Bull believing she could fly. Waltzing into the kitchen before the challenges even officially started, I made the incredibly intelligent decision to set the difficulty very hard. Spoiler, it did not last long and instantly got reduced back to normal.
Good morning! Vault-Tec calling!
For perks, I picked 10 charisma so I can avoid violence for the mercy sake of the opponent, and definitely not be because I will be doing no damage whatsoever. 2 agility for the gunslinger perk, 10 luck for idiot savant, bloody mess, and luck just in general, I guess. And let's just dump the rest into endurance for the health. Going back to our normal life, we start with silencing the infant and shutting the hubby down for even thinking he'll get lucky tonight if he takes us to the park.
After breakfast, I was thinking we could head to the park for a bit.
Let's get pumpkins instead.
Anyway, let's get out of playing this dysfunctional Sims and hop straight into the Fallout.
I love you.
Oh
my god!
Total atomic annihilation.
Waddling through the vault, I stepped into the human freezer, got put on ice, watched the husband get iced, and watched Sean find a new family, and then escaped. Not before stealing the ring back, I still have a loan down on that thing. Fleeing the vault and collecting all the loot and not killing any of the buggy boys, and just trapping them behind doors due to the lack of hands. We permanently borrowed the Pip-Boy from this random dead guy and entered the wasteland. Making our way around Sanctuary, opening all the safes and getting our grubby little mitts on anything with a little bit of value. We secured our first pipe pistol, robbed a bunker for some gold, and equipped a rather dapper outfit. Look at me. Oh no, beautiful. Then started heading towards Concord. To help Preston? I mean, help is in quotation marks, because realistically what I'm going to do is steal all the loot and just leave him. Quickly, before heading into Concord, we took a quick pit stop in the hole underneath the Red Rocket to quickly grab a fusion core and wipe out the family of mole rats just casually living there. We aren't going to use the fusion core whatsoever, I just thought it would be nice to have. We cleared the raiders outside of the museum, and inside we leveled up and invested into the Idiot Savant perk for that crisp 3x XP multiplier. After clearing the inside, we said hi to Preston and the gang just to instantly leave them and escape with the power armor. And going further south, we attempted to use our 12 charisma charm on Carla.
Just looking for love, sweetheart.
With our feelings hurt, we bought some ammo and stim packs and moved on to the Drumlin Diner, where we robbed Wolfgang and Trudy because, well, monies. After killing Wolfgang and Simone, we sold our remaining junk off and just bought some more ammo and stim packs. Heading into Cambridge, we met and defended the sexiest man in the Commonwealth. Sorry, Strong. Whilst being utterly terrified by the ghouls, because I completely forgot I had a mod installed. Oh my god, why the ghouls sound like that? Oh my... Clearing the horde and talking to the big man, we collect the quest XP before kissing him on the forehead and continuing down to Park Street Station. But, of course, downtown Boston isn't as peaceful as a stroll in the park. And we had the super mutant to thank for that. After putting him down, I don't know why I did this, it's probably linked to the same reason I buy the same Skyrim every time Todd releases a new version, but I decided to take on Swan, and well, I tried. Realising I really don't have enough bullets to take on the Triggermen, I got the fast travel point from Park Street and started going back towards Diamond City, picking up a snazzy new dress on the way. Outside of the gate, I skipped Piper's dialogue in the most non-violent way possible. And after that, just quickly robbing Kellogg's key out of the mayor's pocket. I went into the market and filled up on some more supplies before returning back to Park Street to save Nick. And it could be a combination of my lack of ability to aim, the damage, the game bugs, but this is where I discovered that the pipe pistol is surprisingly really bad. After playing a bit more strategically, we cleared the Triggermen inside the station and the vault, and after that great difficulty, we reached Dino. After inhaling a totally healthy dosage of Jet, we took him down and freed the Metal Man. Dwindling on ammo, we cleared as much as we could before eventually running out. That's where Valentine showed me this magical, brand new technique to inflict damage without even using ammo. The pistol whip. Reaching Skinny Malone with no ammo to my name whatsoever, I used my brain for once. I know, very surprising. And realised that I wasn't going to be able to melee them all before they'll kill us. So I convinced Starla to leave, and while Skinny Malone stood there heartbroken, we quickly dipped out of the station. Returning back to Diamond City, we filled back up on ammo because not even 350 plus bullets was enough for the Triggermen. So after spending our entire life savings of 3,500 caps, we left with a total of 1,700 bullets. I'm sure that'll be enough for about 5 whole minutes of fighting. Talking to Valentine in his office, we describe what happened.
My husband was murdered. He was just trying to keep them from taking Sean, and they just...
Heading up to Kellogg's home, we opened the secret room, and whilst trying to steal everything from the shelves that I could, I may or may not have dipped one of my hands into Nick's pocket. But with a quick game load and a lot less spamming to avoid them making that same mistake, we secured some cigars that would lead us to Kellogg by using the goodest of boys in the Commonwealth, Dan's. I mean, dog meat. Taking a nice stroll over to Fort Hagen, we dismissed dog meat and started to wipe out the sins. And if the Triggermen were bad, these guys are even worse. More health, more damage, and not even VATS is trying to help us at this point. Slowly making our way through the corridors and looting the armory for things that I can't even use, we are confronted with the man that got me out of my marriage. And to thank him for that, I try to make his death as quick as possible. Well, as quick as this Nerf gun will kill a man. And after a tad bit of a scuffle, he finally went down. I stole his clothes and everything he had in his pockets, which consisted of 30 bucks, a bag of Haribos, and 12 loose jelly beans. From this, I could tell he was the most dangerous man in the Commonwealth. Emphasis on the word was. Sitting down and searching his computer and... Oh, Kellogg, how generous. You were about to subscribe... No, I'm not going to do that. That's just cringe. Unless. Ascending to the roof, we're met with the most spine-chilling scene in all of gaming history that I definitely haven't ever seen before. With the Brotherhood now roaming the Commonwealth, I return to Concord, activate the event to spawn the Vertibird to help us kill the Deathclaw. And with the Deathclaw dead, I attempt to assassinate a Brotherhood Knight using a car explosion. But when that failed, I flee to Preston to tell him that I cleared the outside 100% single-handedly and that he can go safely to Sanctuary. Meeting him there, I got hit with the most dreaded lines in history.
I've had word from a settlement asking for help.
And instantly just left. Turning to Valentine's office, we informed him of how we disposed of the funny cereal man and that Sean was taken to the Institute. So, sadly, we have to go get him back. And to find out how we do this, we have to explore Kellogg's memories. So it was off to Good Neighbor to talk to Dr. Amari about accessing his mind. Honestly, if anyone did this to my mind, they would come out insane. With the amount of brain rot and random shit that's in there. Entering Good Neighbor, we instantly put Finn in a bullet-induced coma, and try to flatter Hancock by making a show of dominance, which he liked so much apparently the first time. And what better way to do this than to try kill Hancock, because he is the mayor. Therefore, he has the most power. When that eventually failed, I decided that Finn was enough of a display. Entering the memory den, we talked to Amari and used Nick to enter Kellogg's memories. And we took a nice stroll through this sequence filled with lore that I will never interact with. We eventually reached the end and discovered the way into the Institute was teleportation. Talking to Amari and finding out that some loose Institute scientist that's currently hiding himself as far away as possible from anything would know how to get into the Institute. So it was off to do my most hated quest in this game, the Glowing Sea. Because who doesn't like a lovely 10-minute run all the way down the bottom of the map whilst being cooked alive by radiation and hunted by anything that moves? Okay, maybe it's not as bad as I make it, but it's still pretty ass. Sprinting through what I imagine Australia is like, I finally reached the Smart Shrek's cave. And he said in order for me to get into the Institute, I would need to hunt down a Corsair, grab the chip off its corpse, and get it decoded. So after running for 10 minutes just to spend a whole 30 seconds here, it was back to downtown Boston to locate a Corsair. Following the funny beeping noise to Green Tech, we made our way through, killing all the gunners, and honestly, with the perks we now had, the pipe pistol actually started to put in some work. Well, it couldn't do much against this guy with a rocket launcher. The entirety of Green Tech and all the gunners were actually a piece of piss. Confronting the Corsair before he had offed any of the hostages, I chatted to him for a little bit before he realised that I'm just waffling to annoy him. And when he did realise that, he definitely wanted us dead. So after consuming all the chems I could before being classed as a walking experiment, I quickly started to light him up, and every time my chems ran out, like a true junkie, I would just take some more. And after a lengthy bit of back and forth exchanging bullets, he finally went down and the chip was mine. See, with enough drugs, anything is possible. I should probably say I do not condone that. But do you want to know what goes better than wiping the floor with a Corsair? Wiping the floor with a Corsair with a side of war crimes, baby. Why? I don't know, it's funny I guess. Going into the Old North Church, I dealt with the current residents and entered the super secret password to enter the Railroad HQ. When confronted by Desdemona, I tried to use the powers of bullshitting to get past her, and she wasn't having any of it. But after telling her I had a Corsair chip in my possession, she was more than happy to let me get it decoded. See, rule number 1 of the Wasteland Survival Guide. Trust no one. especially someone with a crippling chem addiction wielding a pipe pistol and wearing a beanie. We started disposing of the railroad, but we did this for 2 reasons. One, because it saves me time later having them already dead, and the second is just because I got bored waiting for Tom to decode the chip. I literally have the attention span of the average iPad kid. To be honest, taking the railroad out was quite easy. The only person I struggled with was Glory, but after enough meds and enough bullets, she went down. And I did end up taking her clothes, because they are a tiny bit better than Kellogg's. Decoding the chip myself, I returned to the Mutant Green Bean to receive the signal interceptor plans, and we went to go find help building it. Well, the railroad can't help us, because, well, yeah. I could return to my man Dance, but that's too much effort. So the last resort was Preston. Talking to Preston, he said he'll help us, but only if I go help one of his settlements. You conning bastard. Well, that's what I think about your settlements, Preston. And surprisingly, for my amazing work, he promoted us to General and agreed to help. Talking to Sturgis and getting all the teleporter built and set up, we were given the go and entered the Institute. Inside the Institute, we talked to Sean. No, not that one. This one. I know. It's a hell of a plot twist. This Sean's fake, my real son's older than us, he's also called father. It just works. Talking to him, we joined the Institute and had a chat and met with all the division leaders. We bought a new helmet. Although it did look stupid, it was practical. And with joining the Institute, we were sent on our first quest, Synth Retention, where we're sent to go retrieve a rogue synth off a boat. We are meant to take on and fight the entire raider camp, but instead we went for a little swim, scaled the side of the boat, and just snuck in. Reaching the top, we recalled the synth, killed his crewmates, and returned back to Father for our next quest, the Battle of Bunker Hill, where we would have been put against railroad agents and Brotherhood Knights. Or instead, what we did do to protect my sanity and avoid the torture was kill the Corsair and just skip it altogether. Talking to Sean on top of CIT, he was mildly disappointed, but would he rather me go through Bunker Hill suffering for about an hour and dying constantly? Or for me to just be mentally well and skip the mission? Actually, you'd probably prefer me to suffer, this sick little bastard. Back in the Institute, we sat and had a civilized conversation with Sean where he dropped the fact that he was just dying. And honestly, I couldn't be any more sadder. But before he dies, he wants to give the Institute one last source of power. By him giving it, he means he'll send me to get it for him, like I'm some sort of minion. Relaying to the top of mass fusion, we quickly grabbed the keycard and leaped off the side of the building. I'm sure that didn't confuse half of the Brotherhood. Because Fallout 4 is such a flawless game, when I landed close to Good Neighbor, it clipped me just right outside of the front entrance without a single scratch. Entering mass fusion from the bottom, we got to skip the entire elevator sequence and entered the reactor room, donned on a hazmat suit and taking a quick shower. We pressed the button and secured the glorified AA battery. But of course, it's not as easy as picking it up and leaving, because if it was, then I would be a much happier human. But no, the sentry bot had something to say about that. Hiding inside the decontamination room, I quickly put some shots in when I could before retreating to heal, and about 170 bullets later, the sentry bot was finally defeated. But that's not the end of my problems in here, because I can't just simply cheese these two Assaultrons, and although they're not as tough to kill as the sentry bot, they are smaller and do way more damage. So, I had to sprint for my life. And when they charged up the beams, I had to run and duck for cover. Because after running around in circles for 10 minutes and getting a tiny bit dizzy, we somehow survived and escaped mass fusion. We talked to Sean to tell him that it was done, and he sent me straight back out to get someone from the Grey Garden. Taking out the gunners that were protecting the outside, we passed a speech check, and that's the entire quest. Every time I go for the Institute ending, I forget this quest exists. It's that short. Back in the Institute, we recorded a podcast by spamming the bottom dialogue option, because if this game's taught me anything, is that the bottom dialogue option is always good. Going into Diamond City, we messed with Travis's radio equipment, and just to put him off, we stared at him. For a long time. How you doing, Travis? Before quickly leaving. He will think about that for the rest of his life. Meeting back up with Sean and inserting the battery for the Institute's use, he told us that the railroad needs taken out. Well, yeah. They haven't been a problem for a while. Preparing for the final mission, we returned to Diamond City and started the quest Diamond City Blues, which I've done many times to the point as I class it as a main story mission. Watching Paul get absolutely battered, we talked to him outside and went back in to confront Q. But instead of the whole, you fucked my wife, yeah, I know, my bad, I'm sorry. He has a chem deal to make it so I unfucked your wife. I just instantly killed Kook and made a sprint for the chems. But this time I brought a peace offering. A tricycle. Before brutally murdering them all and taking the chems for myself. But that's not the point. Crafting super drugs for the XP and resupplying on ammo and meds. We were ready to take on the Brotherhood. Relaying to the airport, we took the outside soldiers out and entered the building, where under the heavy influence of Psycho Jet, we killed everyone and took on our first night. Which was difficult, believe it or not. The worst weapon in the game against a man with a full suit of power armor was awful. And if I didn't have the chems, I would have been nigh on fucked. Taking the generators down and suffering through a couple of more nights, we relayed all the synth backup we needed to take Liberty Prime. While protecting the virus synth against all the knights and scribes, I had to make the most difficult sacrifice of my life. and kill the man who I hold very close to my heart, Paladin Dan's. And usually it's not the case for Dan's. I would normally happily kill him in a heartbeat, but something changed this run and I actually felt bad for him. I will save you next run. Aside from the heartbreak and pain of Dance, I had to suffer immensely against Maxon. With that stupid-ass Gatling laser, that shit shredded us, and he wasn't easy to take down at all. But with enough drugs, enough heals, enough bullets, he finally went down. You know, that seems to be the case for every hard enemy in this. The virus was uploaded, and we were teleported to the beach, where we watched as the Predwin fell. Talking to Sean in these final moments, he decided now was a good time to die. And with the ending cutscene playing, it answered the question. Yes, you can be Fallout 4 with only the base pipe pistol.